What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic.
I'm Jammin.
And we have an album review for you, or rather an EP review, and honestly, kind of a theme with this run of releases, kind of a comeback album, except this is a comeback that we're actually kind of excited about. So we're going to go over the latest EP from Mammoth Grinder, Undying Spectral Resonance. This also comes out on the 15th of November on Relapse Records. This band formed in 2005 in Austin, Texas. This is their 5th EP overall. They have 4 full lengths. I've been a fan of this band since their second album, Extinction of Humanity. They were kind of a little bit more crust punk oriented, but definitely a lot of death metal elements. This is their first actual release since 2018's Cosmic Crypt. And for those that don't know, this is just some flat out grimy, old school, very meat and potatoes, very dark and dingy death metal with still a hefty bit of crust in there. And this is helmed by one Chris Olsch of Power Trip. He is the lone OG member of this band. This is also rounded out by Ryan Parrish, formerly of Darkest Hour, and I guess recently formerly of Iron Reagan. I don't know, the band's on hiatus. I literally just noticed that as we were kind of going over notes for this. This band also features Andy Horn on bass, who is from Crossbitter and Cannabis Corpse, and Sebastian Phillips from Exhumed, who that dude is just an absolutely amazing guitarist. And we actually saw this band recently, and it was the first time seeing them, and I didn't think I was ever going to see them because they had been dormant for so long. I figured they kind of broke up.
You know what's funny is I never really listened to this band, but I saw them live recently, and I really enjoyed them live. So, of course, then I went back and dug through their discography and ended up really enjoying them.
Honestly, bands that win us over live, I mean, that's generally kind of a cool thing here. I was already won over by this band before I saw them live, but I totally get that whole thing. Because when you see a band just absolutely destroy live, yeah, that.
Right. I'm gonna check them out, yeah.
And live, these guys were absolutely disgusting. Dude, that guitar tone and bass tone combo was like someone distorted the biggest, wettest fart ever. And believe me, that's a compliment. I know it doesn't sound like it, but it was just ridiculously heavy. It was just meaty and thick and swampy, and well, they pretty much captured that on this EP. And at the control panel, they had Arthur Risk, who actually even does some guest solos on here. And well, I mean, if you're familiar with Mammoth Grinder's earlier material, this will sound very familiar to you. And if you're not, and you like just the most primal sounding of just cavernous, grimy death metal, then you're gonna love this.
And that's pretty much a solid descriptor for this EP for really every song outside of the interlude. Should be made note, too, that Chris Olsch plays literally everything on this album, except for maybe a solo or two. Arthur Risk can really do no wrong when it comes to mixing albums. I'll let you guys just kind of simmer on that for a minute. He did one lead in Decrease the Peace, and I mean, it's a pretty mean, harmonized lead. I really liked it. But yeah, outside of that, Chris is the monster behind all of this. First song, Corpse of Divident, starts out with some growling and some synth swells to kind of set the atmosphere, and then you're off to the races with galloping D beats and galloping chugs and nasty tremolos, and that really describes all of this record.
Pretty much. I mean, it kind of alternates between D beats and kind of almost a faster two-step. You can definitely tell it's Chris behind the drum kit because, I mean, his performance on all of Power Trip's albums, I believe, were all single kick, and this is definitely all single kick. I didn't hear one double bass flutter. There was definitely a single kick D beat stutter, but it's nothing you would need a double bass pedal for at all. The production and the whole setting and the atmosphere, this thing, it sounds like it was performed inside of a cave that drips something. Maybe water, maybe not water, maybe something gross that you don't want to get on you. But I feel like this entire EP was recorded in there, and it has this sort of dingy kind of gross atmosphere. The guitars are thick and snarly. The bass is really fucking prominent on here. This got a lot of low end, and those drums absolutely thud.
And I love the drums because they're very natural sounding. There's nothing going on here as far as flash and flare is concerned. It's got a big solid kick drum, and the snare just kind of thwacks, and it's almost like a thud thwack too. So just adds more to the kind of unga bunga that's already on this album.
Except this is a zombie caveman that wants to gnaw on your flesh. But it's definitely a caveman. This is so much caveman death metal that I'm pretty sure this caveman hasn't even discovered fire yet. Now, while this definitely still has its elements of I mean, I would say like kind of thrashy, more along the lines of like crust punk, like, you know, definitely like old school D beat, like, you know, Discharge and stuff like that. This definitely has like some swampy, grimy, doomy grooves on it. The title track and Decrease the Peace in particular, a little bit more on the groovy side, just dingy, rotten, slow headbanging. Decrease the Peace in particular, I think possibly has one of my favorite riffs on it. It's like a pure, like Celtic Frost style, simple, lethal, grimy, evil sounding riff. It chugs it up. There's like some really kind of like fun syncopated, just like heavy chugs in there. It even slows it down a little bit more for like an almost like kind of like doomy breakdown. Yeah. And you get like a good bleh in there. Like, you know, it's Celtic Frost. You expect a but no, you get bleh, and bleh is fine.
And then the title track kind of has the same vibe, albeit it's not doomy. It's definitely sinister, just full of very nasty tremolo harmonies, but they're really simple and straightforward too, and that's what I like about them, I think, the most. Because bringing filth out of something so simple is a pretty interesting task in itself, especially this day and age in death metal, where it's not all crazy and you're not all reliant on effects or even things like atmosphere. It's just a nasty tremolo groove.
It's chuggy, it's menacing, it's dark, and I like the fact that, you know, it leads in with this nice little stomp to kind of kick off everything, like some cymbal accents, and then we're kind of off to this gnarly groove, and then it does that again, and you kind of think they're going to kind of revisit that and kind of just, you know, restart the song, like get back to the verse, and then it gets into the faster stuff. So it's got like kind of a cool dynamic switching up to like a thrashier section towards the end. And when it is going faster, again, it's kind of alternating between, you know, like D-beat crust and like kind of more like thrash riffs, like the last track, Obsessed with Death. You kind of get like a two-piece there. Like it starts off with thrashy machine gun riffs, and then with a quick transition, it alternates to like heavy, down-picked, crusty riffs, and just kind of keeps the energy going. And we brought up an interlude, and generally this is the part where I start bitching. But I have to say the interlude on here is actually kind of cool. It's a good atmospheric break, and it actually goes somewhere. Straight into the cave they recorded this in, full of monsters and creepy things and dripping stuff. Goo. Don't touch it. Wash your fucking hands. But it's a really interesting build. Like, it kind of just starts off with, like, synth swells, and you get these, like, single drum hits.
Big tom hits.
Yeah. It almost sounds like he's, like, dropping his sticks on the toms on that second hit, because there's, like,
the
a
second
faint
one,
hit. And, you know, kind of just letting the reverb kind of fill up the sound, and then everything else is kind of building behind that. And it kind of shifts from, like, you know, like a 70s Italian horror flick, like, we'll just go with Fulci because that's the only I can think of right now. But then it kind of moves into, like, more gothic territory.
Organs. And,
And you get, like, kind of a cool melody, and it goes right into Decrease the Peace. And honestly, the setup is damn good.
I will say the interlude's a little long. It's 3 minutes and 22 seconds. They could have probably cut it after, like, a minute 30.
Yeah, all right. Towards the end, I will say that it kind of does plateau at a point, like the build stops and like, okay, we're just gonna hang out here in the spooky church.
But at the same time, it fades out just as it fades in, so the effect is still there.
In terms of any negatives, it's short. I mean, that's, you know, kind of a complaint about EPs, but this is only like maybe a scratch above 14 minutes. So yeah, you're only kind of getting like a teaser here. So hopefully this is a teaser for things to come, because what they've teased here, I think, is really good. One other thing I guess you can say with just a 5-track EP, I mean, if you're counting the interlude, which, I mean, it is a 3-minute track.
Yeah.
But I will say that there's not really a lot of variety in here. Like, you have 2, you know, groovier songs, and you have 2 faster, more like 2-step D-beat songs. And I think they're all good, but it's really not enough to, like, show off any, like, nuance in any of the songs. Again, this is, like, caveman death metal. It can't spell nuance, so, you know, it's all right. I don't really mind. It's, like, kind of a minor complaint.
Most people can't spell nuance.
There's, like, a Q in there, right?
Yeah, it's silent.
Silent Q.
So
they're always
right.
silent Qs. At the same time, this really captures the live vibe, and I am still, you know, thinking about how awesome they were at that show. So, not really, like, the biggest negative here.
And one thing I will say, too, and I don't know if it's Spotify, I haven't listened to this record on any other mediums, but I thought the record was a little quiet, which is bizarre because Arthur Risk is usually known for a big booming album. And I had this record cranked, and I mean, it was loud, but not normally like it is when we listen to albums where we're like, oh God, where we get the live feeling. So again, I don't know if it's the Spotify stream. I'm probably going to tool around and see if I can find other streams to see if that's the case. But if it is, it was oddly a bit quiet.
Could be our hearing shot.
It also could be that.
We can't rule that out at this point.
Just saw Cytotoxin with no earplugs, so you tell me.
But yeah, overall, I'm going to give us 3.5 stars. I dig it. I feel like it is definitely a teaser, and please tell me that there's going to be like a full-length Mammoth Grinder coming out next year, because I'm 100% down for it. But yeah, I feel like this is just kind of showing up that they are back, reestablishing the brand. They're doing pretty much 100% what I expect from Mammoth Grinder here. It's executed well. It's grimy, filthy. It sounds evil as hell. The cavernous vocals, the cavernous everything on here. Like, yeah, it's just a filthy sounding EP, and I don't know if they're doing CDs for it. I really hope they are, because I will definitely get them.
Probably not.
Probably not. I'm gonna check Relapse. If you're a big fan of just like, I mean, I would say that like old school grimy death metal, Bolt Thrower, Obituary, Benediction, stuff like that, check this out. This is a pretty nasty release.
I'm pretty much all in agreement here, even though I haven't jammed this band much. Again, after seeing them live, it kind of ignited something in me, and what this record sounds like is pretty damn close to what they sound like live, which is really cool. Once again, it is fairly simple, fairly straightforward. You get some groove, you get some faster songs, but for the most part, it's just a bunch of chugs and a bunch of gross tremolos with a little bit of atmosphere. It's evil, it's nasty, it's grimy, and I like it. I could tell you more, but that pretty much covers this record in its entirety. It is a little short, but it is an EP. So what more do you want? If this is the direction they're going in for a full length, I too am all on board. So 3.5 stars. You like Bolt Thrower and Obituary and Frozen Soul and some Autopsy mixed in there, you're probably really going to dig this. I'd recommend checking it out for yourself.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also now have memberships. They are only 99 cents, and we will be doing a members-only live stream at some point, because that is the perk that we're offering outside of the stupid emojis, which they will probably only get dumber as soon as I add more dumb to them.
They will.
This is pretty much the new way to help support the channel here. This is going to eventually get us away from Patreon entirely, and this will help us pay for StreamYard, because raise the prices, because they did. And yeah, we like using that format because it's pretty damn awesome, honestly. Minus the fucking, price hike. We also still have thrallsmetal.com. We have our t-shirts there, as well as our hats too. So if you're interested in those, there's a link down below in the video description. And if you're interested in becoming a member, there is a button that says join there. So if you'd like to help us out, those are the ways to do it.
And as always, tons of stuff going on at Thralls of Metal, live streams, booger trolls, album reviews, discography rankings, tons of metal all the time, merch, shirts, hats, all that crap. We do all that stuff for you guys because we appreciate you. Our fan base is amazing. I know I say that all the time, but the more we get to interact with you guys and run into you at shows and just have everybody be such a part of something that's become really big. We're about to celebrate 20,000 subscribers, you guys, and that's crazy. And we couldn't do it without you. So a big, huge thank you from us. We are grateful to be here, and thank you for being here.
And I'm going to eventually get something together for a 20,000 subscriber giveaway. I just got to figure out what I have to give away, or go pick up some stuff. Either way, thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. It's amazing doing this, and we have a ton of stuff pretty much on the docket for you. So one more big thank you, because you guys are awesome, and we will catch you later.